Okay, this is my video for Word Module 1. A couple of things I need to apologize for ahead of time. One, if you can't tell, my voice is in bad shape. Allergies are really going crazy on me, and so that explains why I'm sounding like this. Two, there's a very good possibility that I'm going to get into a coughing fit. I'll try to pause the video if I go into one, but they've been happening with regularity, especially when I'm talking. So I am going to try to avoid these as much as I can. Okay. So as I said, this is a video for Word Module 1. I've got Word opened up here. So this is just like looking at a blank document. So here's the window for Word, and up at the very top, you'll see that I've got these, what they call these are ribbons. So, like, this is the home ribbon, and this is what the home ribbon looks like. This is the insert ribbon, and this is what the insert ribbon looks like. Design ribbon, same thing. So, we're going to spend most of our time in the home ribbon, especially in this module. But you may need, we're going to go into like insert for sure, and probably go into design too. But there's different ribbons to do different things, and a lot of times you just ask yourself which one of these words up here makes the most sense in what you're trying to do. um, so like for the word ribbon, for the word home ribbon, it's got things like font and paragraph. You're going to use these a lot because font contains things like the different fonts that you're going to use, whether something is italicized, bold, underlined. Paragraph are things that how you design a paragraph. Is it single space, double space, first line indent, those kinds of things. So we're gonna spend a lot of time, like I said, in the home ribbon on this in this class or in this video. Next class, we're going to use a lot of the references um, ribbon. So, um, getting started. Um, First thing I need to talk about is the difference between. I need to define what a paragraph is. Now, a paragraph in your English class and a paragraph in Word are two different things. Paragraph in your English classes, your English teacher will probably say it's like 4 to 6 sentences or more, and it's got an introduction, a body, a conclusion, those kinds of things. That's a paragraph in English, in your English class. In this class, or in Word, a paragraph is anything up until you hit enter. So whenever you hit enter, you've actually created a new paragraph. So back in uh, back in the days of typewriters, the way this used to work was you would sit at a typewriter and you would start typing, um, and you would just type until you heard a ding. And when you heard a ding from your typewriter, that would tell you that this line is getting ready to end. And so for you to go to the next line, you had to figure out where you wanted this line of text to end. Did you want to hyphenate a word? Did you want to end it at a word? So you'd have to figure these things. You don't have to worry about that with Microsoft Word. You just type and it will automatically wrap from one line of text to the next. And the only time you have to worry about hitting enter or anything to end a line is hitting enter, which will end a paragraph, and then it will move on to the next paragraph. Okay, so a paragraph, or like I said, with a paragraph, you can do things like here's left align, this is center, right align. These are bullets. First line or a line indent, decrease indent, and increase indent, those kinds of things. Um, these are paragraph formatting things. So when you think about paragraph formatting, think about things like does the paragraph, is what you're typing, does it need to be single spaced or double spaced? Does it need to have a first line indent? Is there space in between the paragraphs? And like I said, we'll discuss a whole lot of this in Module 2. Module 1 doesn't really get into that, but I need to talk about it. Font formatting are things like what font am I using? And there's a whole lot of fonts that you can use. What size is the font that I'm using? Is it bold? Is it italicized? Is it underlined? Turn these off before I start typing in them. Is what color is the font? Is there a background to the font? Those kinds of things. So that's the two different kinds of fonts, different kinds of changing of formatting that we're going to do for this module 1. Now, what I've done, I'm going to go and I'm going to get the document that we're going to work on. So I'm going to go to Word Module 1. This is on Blackboard. Word. Click on that. And then I'm going to go to Module 1. And then I'm going to go to Class Files. So what I've done with these class files is, let me show you what we're going to create first. Click this, it'll open up down here. So this is what I'm going to create. You see, it's just a flyer for some surfing company or something like that. It's got different kinds of font, bold, italicized, different colored. We've got bullets. We've got a border around it. We've got this weird stuff going on here, and we've actually got a picture that we've done some stuff to. Okay, so what I've done, we'll go back to Blackboard. What I've done is I've created these documents, this surf flyer before. Only thing I've done here is I've just done this with I've already created the typing for us. So I've done this, and all of the, you see here's all the font, and it matches with all the font here. It's just I've done the typing, so when we're doing this, we don't have to do the typing. All right. So let me minimize this. I'll bring it back in a minute. So first thing I want to talk about is, let me get my enable editing. First thing I want to talk about is, first off, this document looks a little weird. You can't really tell what's going on. Like, why is this surfs up in the middle? You assume it's centered. What's going on here with private and group lessons? What's all this there? Why is there this big gap? There's all these kinds of things. There's a lot going on you really can't see. So there's this little button right here. It's called Show Hide. And what this does is turns on non-printing characters. So watch what happens when I click this button. All these other things turn on, and you can kind of see what I did to make this thing so messed up. So here's a key. It's like if your instructor tells you, he wants you to center text, which if you're doing a practical test for me, I will tell you to do. I don't want to see this, because what this tells me is that you just hit the space bar until it looks centered, and then you went on. Here's a whole bunch of spaces. Here's a bunch of tabs. A whole lot of craziness. So I'm going to get rid of a lot of this stuff first off. So I just wanted you to see some of the stuff that you don't want to do. And I'm going to get rid of all this stuff here. Whoops, not all of this. Click this, and I'm going to delete this. Alright, so now it's back to a little bit of normal. I'm sipping on some hot tea. I hope you can't taste that, but I'm trying to do everything I can to keep my voice going. So first thing we'll talk about is selecting. If you're going to do something with a font, like some sort of font font formatting, so like one of the things we're going to do here is we're going to need to center this. No, I'm sorry, that's going to be a paragraph formatting. But let me just talk about font formatting. Let's suppose I wanted to make this like some sort of different font. I would need to select like Surf's Up, and in order to change it. And here I could change it, to give it a 28-point font, and that changes it. Selecting is if you're doing a font format, you have to select the text. So it's like if I wanted to change the font of this, I would need to select it. If I wanted to change the font of this paragraph, I would need to select it for the whole paragraph. And there's different ways of selecting. So like one way that I can select is click and drag, and you see that selected it, and I just kind of like click and drag diagonally like this. So I would click this and just drag diagonally, and that would get me to select that. Or I can just click and drag the word, and I can click left or click and drag left or right, whichever way I want to go. So that's one way to select text. Another way, like if I wanted to select just a word, like if I wanted to select the word improve, I could double click the word improve, and that would select that for me. If I want to select an entire paragraph, I can triple click anywhere in that paragraph. So let's just click, click, click. Like that. Whoops, sorry. For some reason my triple click isn't working. There it goes. Holy crap. There it goes. Triple click, it will select an entire paragraph for you. If I want to select just a line of text, so let's suppose that I want to select the word, the line that starts with learn. So if you look, my insertion point, then kind of floating around out there, it looks like an I. And when I slide this thing over into the margins, it changes from that I to an arrow. When it changes from that I to an arrow, I can click and it will select the line of text next to that arrow. So like I can do this with photo. That one. So I can do that. So that's a way for me to select, text if I need to. Now, if you're going to do a paragraph format, so like let's suppose I wanted to make this centered instead of, I'm going to do this with Surf's Up. I want to do a paragraph format on Surf's Up, and I want to center it. I don't need to select that paragraph in order to do a paragraph format on the paragraph that I'm in. So all I need to do for a paragraph format is I just have to have, you can select it, it's still going to work. But for like a paragraph formatting, right now you can see that my insertion point is inside the word surfs. And so if I go to center that, it's going to center that entire paragraph. And notice how when I centered this, I didn't get those dots over here. Those dots that we saw with the space, those dots that I saw earlier, those are me hitting the space bar. That's what that is. That's what's cool things that show up with show hide. It shows up these non-printing characters. So like if you look in between the words learn to, there's that little dot that just tells you that there's a space. Anytime you see this little weird symbol here, that means that you hit an enter. You entered it and you created a paragraph there. Okay, so what we're going to do with this document is we're going to turn this, not this one, don't save, where's my other one, this into this. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this document into this document. Now it's going to look a little weird first because what I'm doing is a step-by-step stuff that's in the book. And when I do it the way that they do it in the book, it's first off, it turns out orange. Like this is going to be like this weird orange color. Expert is going to be orange colored. There's going to be like just some orange stuff like this is going to be orange. And we'll turn it blue later on because I want to show you something. And that's the way they do it in the textbook. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on Surf's Up. So you can see that Surf's Up is like hollowed out characters, and then it's got this like blue kind of an outline, and then a darker blue background. Now, like I said, we're going to do this, and it's going to be orange. But that's just the way that they do this in the text, and we'll change it later. So first thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to select Surf's Up. So I'm just going to select this because we're going to do some stuff to it. So I got Surf's Up selected. So the first thing they want me to do is change this to Rockwell is the font that it uses. So I can slow down here and go. Now, let me show you something before I do this. So Surf's Up selected. So let's suppose that you're going to do this and you really don't know what font you want to use. Surf's Up selected. So watch what happens when I click on this and I just let my mouse drag over top of these different fonts. Watch what happens to Surf's Up over here as I drag over. See how it's just changing as I go down these different fonts. Sometimes it doesn't change it because I have them all installed. See these little downloads just means that they're not installed. But see how all these are changing? So what it wants me to do is choose a Rockwell. I'll just go down here and find it. Rockwell Extra Bold. So boom, and then we change that. Alright, so looking at our finishing, it's got this, it's a 72 point font. So let me minimize this because I don't need this anymore. 72 points, so I'm going to click on here, and this will work the same way. See how like when I scroll down, it changes the size. So I can just like let this fly until I find one that I like and click on it. So there's Surf's Up at the right, using the right font and the right size. Now, another thing I have a problem is like, see how this is all caps and this is upper and lowercase. I don't want to type it again. So again, I can go into my font font group on my ribbon, and then there's this little change case button, and I can click this down on. I want to make everything uppercase, but there's a lot of different options you could choose, like toggle case. Toggle case will just switch everything around, but uppercase will make everything uppercase. So now we're starting to get things looking a little bit better. But notice how this has a font that's got these little hollowed out letters with this border around it. To get that, we're going to use this button right here, which is a text effect. So I'm going to click on this, and the option that it wants me to choose is this one. Now, like I said, it's going to turn orange. We're going to change it to blue later on. But I click on this, and you see how now it gives me the hollowed out letters. See, I got the hollowed out letters, and then the outline of them. All right, so we got that. Now what I want to do is I want to create a background to it. So I want to create a background for this entire paragraph. So I'm going to click on here and click on this button. Now when I put my mouse over this, see how it says orange accent 2, darker 25%. When you're doing one of these things in the book, it will tell you what color to choose, and it will give you these like orange accent 2, darker 25%. And it'll also tell you probably what row and what column the color is that it wants you to choose. If it tells you that and you don't see it, that there's probably a really good chance at the very beginning that it told you to change the colors before you did this. And here's what I'm talking about. If you look at this, like these are the colors that it gives me to choose from, these colors here. But I have more colors that I can choose from than that. But these are just theme colors. But I can change my theme. So like, and we're going to do this later on, is what's going to turn everything from orange to blue. But if I don't see the color that I'm looking at, and it probably told me to change the colors early on, I can go into design, and then here's a colors button, and these are like all of my different groups. So let me change this to like blue, and you'll see that that changes that to the blue that we're going to look at later on. I'll go back to my home ribbon, and I'll look at this and see how these colors are different than they were before. And I'll do it one more time. So I'm going to go back into design. I'll choose something completely different, like violet. So now everything on this is like purple. I'm going back to my home ribbon and then choose this. I'm sorry, choose this. And see how these are different colors once again. See, and again, see how when I let my mouse kind of fly over it, how it changes the colors of it. All right, so I'm going to go back home. I'm just going to just take these things back. All right, so that gives me that. So now I want to get this background for this, and I'm going to change this to this orange color right here. And again, I haven't changed any of my colors using that color button yet. So now this is kind of looking like this, except it's the wrong color. So, but we're getting somewhere. All right, moving on. Next thing we'll look at is the font itself. So here's all this font, and just looking at it, it wants me to change this thing to Calibri 24. So everything here is Calibri 24 font, except for this last line, which is Calibri 28. So I need to change all of this from learn all the way down to the end of available to 24. I'm gonna fix this and because it's messed up. Get rid of that space in between there. So I'm going to select, and there's different ways, because remember I can click and drag this way, or I can get into the margins and just click and drag straight down, and that will let me change it. So I'm going to change this to 24, and I'll select this last line and change it to 28. Now, let me show you something. See how there's a, and I'll select this, but see how there's a 28, and then it skips to 36. Well, let's suppose that 28 is too small and 36 is too big. So what I can do is, like, I got to change to 28. I can change this to, let's say I want to change it to 32. I can go up here and select this and just type in 32, enter, and see it changes this to like one of those font sizes that isn't listed. So just because, if you run into a situation where 28 is too small and 36 is too big, you can pick any color, any size you want to. I think you can even pick a half size. You could pick like 32.5. So, I mean, you can get kind of specific in it. So don't worry if like some of these numbers don't work for you, because you can change this. So I'm going to leave this at 28 because that's where it wanted us to leave it. All right. So now our font is the right size. Um, Next thing we'll work on is this. These here. These are bullets. Private, group lessons, reef shoes. Now, I want to show you something with bullets first. We'll just create a brand new document, just a blank document. All right, bullets. So when you're creating a bulleted list, every line is going to start off with a bullet. So to start off a bulleted list, and this is like you're just typing it. I mean, you haven't already typed it and then going to change it, because generally when you're creating a bulleted list, you're going to do it this way. You're going to turn on bullets and then start typing. So I'm going to turn on bullets on this blank sheet. So click this, and I just turn on bullets. And you see how it gave me a bullet, a little arrow. These are non-printing characters because my non-printing characters still turn on. And then I can put whatever I want to. And then if I hit enter, it's going to go down and create another bullet for me. And I keep in this bullet mode until I decide to turn bullets off. Now, let's suppose I wanted to create a sub-bullet underneath this. I can do the increase indent, and that takes me to another level of this bulleted list. And I'll stay there until maybe I can decrease indent, and that moves it back. If I want to get out of bullets altogether, what I can do is, like, here's an empty, I can either, on an empty line, I can just turn bullets off, and that takes me out of it. Or from that empty line, I can just hit enter. So I'm just kind of creating a blank line on a bullet, and it will take me out of it. And normally that's the way you're going to be doing bullets. You're not going to already have it typed and then change it. You're probably going to turn on bullets and then type it. So that's a little bit different than we got going on here. Let me minimize this and go back to this. So what I need to do is turn private, reef, and photo lines, turn those 3 lines into bullets. So this is going to be easy. So I'm going to just go into the margins, click and drag so that I have all 3 of those selected, and then just turn the bullets on. And that gives me that. Hey, that's the first time I think you heard me cough. That's pretty good. I may be getting better. All right. Let's look at some other stuff. So now I think we got some, like, expert. We want this to be that weird orange color, the same orange color that we select before. I know it's blue, but we're going to change it to orange, and we'll change it to blue later. Award-winning needs to be bold, and this whole line of text needs to be centered, blue, and the phone number needs to be underlined. So let's work on expert and award-winning first, because those will be a little easier. So expert, I can double-click that word, and we're going to make it italic, and we're going to choose that same orange color that we chose earlier. And then award-winning, it's hyphenated, so I'm going to need to kind of click and drag through that one. And we just made that bold. Oh, yeah, that's good. And then this line with the phone number on it, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to center it. Now, I didn't need to highlight it, or didn't need to select it to center it, but I'm going to do some other stuff to it anyway, so I went ahead and selected it. So first thing we're going to do is, like, with it selected, we're going to make everything that orange color. And then we're going to go over here and take this phone number, select it alone, and then we're going to underline it. I'm sorry, not italicize, underline. Not bold, underline. There we go. All right. So now we got things that are looking a little bit, like I said, except for the color, things are going a little bit, they're going to go okay. Okay, now we'll work on the picture. So this picture is a surfing guy. I've already got the picture on Blackboard for us, so I'm going to go back to Blackboard, and then here's the surf pic, and I'm going to click on it, and it's going to open up in this window. So just to show you what I want, the way this will usually work, because normally you would, I could copy this picture, but normally you would just open it from someplace. So I'm just going to save the image, and I'm going to save it in my downloads folder. So, and it's going to be called Surfing JPG. So with one of these things, you just need to know where you save the picture. So I'm going to save, and then it's now there in my folder. So what I want to do now is I want to insert the picture. Now the thing to remember about when you insert something like a picture, a chart, a graph, something like that, is when you do this, it's going to insert the object wherever your insertion point is. So if I have my insertion point in between the word, or right in the middle of the word improve, and I try to insert that picture, it's going to try to insert that surfing picture in between the word improve. I mean, it's going to try to put it there. So what I'll probably end up with is like a line that says learn to surf or and then it'll go down a line, and then I'll see the picture, and then it'll go down another line, and it'll say prove your form skills, blah blah blah. See the rest of it. So wherever your insertion point is where the picture is going to insert. Now, when I was creating this document, I created a blank line underneath Surf's Up because that's where I want this picture to go, and I also want it to be centered. So before I do anything, I'm going to go ahead and put my insertion point here before this little enter symbol, and then I'm going to center it so you can see that this is now centered. And then I'm going to insert the picture. So to insert the picture, I'm going to click on insert up here on my ribbon, insert, and then pictures. And then I'm going to go to downloads, and here's my surfing picture. So I got that selected. I'm going to click insert, and there's my picture. I'm going to make this a little bit. First off, let's look at this thing. So this picture is selected. And the reason how I know it's selected is a couple things. It's like, see how there's got these little dots on all the corners and the sides? These are things called sizing handles. And you can click on these to change the size of the picture. So like, let's suppose I think this picture is too fat. I can grab onto one of these sizing handles and drag it, and it's going to make that picture a little skinnier. If I think it's too tall, I can go the other way and grab one of these up at the top, and it's going to make it, less tall. All right, these ones on the corner, your ones you're probably using most often, because what they do is they will shrink the size of the picture proportionally. So I'm going to make this picture something about 3.5, like that. So there's my picture, like 3.5. Also, I should mention, there's this little curly Q thing up at the top. If I click this and drag it, I can actually, change the way that picture looks. I can rotate it, back and forth. Another thing to notice, like when I have this picture selected, up here at the very top, I have this brand new ribbon called Picture Format, or Picture Tools. You may see Picture Tools, depending on which version of Windows you're using. But we can use. I mean, you'll only see these. Every once in a while, you'll see these new ribbons pop up, and they will only pop up when you're doing something like next class. When we do one of these, there'll be a ribbon pop up for headers and footers. So these things pop up every now and then. So it's just because I have this selection, because I have a picture selected, it gave me a Picture Tools ribbon. All right. So looking at this picture. It's oval. It's got this beveled edge around it, and then it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to zoom in on it. Whoops. Zoom in a little bit more. But see how there's this kind of a green glow on the outside of that? So we're going to create that. All right. So the first thing that it wants us to do is create this soft oval edge. I don't know why it creates this soft oval edge, because we're gonna make that oval edge hard again when we put the bevel on it. But we're gonna create that, and so this gives us the soft oval edge. And now the next thing we want to do is create a bevel. Well, we can find that under Picture Effects, and then there's Bevel, and we're just going to create this. We're going to take this angle bevel that gives us that. And now we want to create the glow on the outside. So again, Picture Effects, glow, and then we're going to choose this green. Like so, I think we choose this one. And so now our picture looks right. It's oval, it's got this beveled edge, and it's got this green glow around it. All right, last thing we'll do, and let's make this thing back to. Whoops, that's a little bit too much. Cancel. There we go. Next thing we'll do is create this border around it, and this will be pretty easy. The problem is on this one is finding it, and this is going to be in a different ribbon than we've ever talked about. So what I want to do is I think it's, let's see if I can find it. Yes, it's under Design. and then all the way to the right there's a page borders ribbon. So if I click on that, it's going to open up this little window, and then I select what border I want. So I'm going to say that I want this one. Wait a minute, I think it's a dot dot dash. This one, dot dot dash. I'm going to make this, give it like a, give it a 4 point, 4.5 point, and then the color I select, I'll select this green. So borders, the selection of the border, the color of the border, and the width of the border. So those three things are selected, and we click OK, and that puts that border around it. All right. So now, finally, this is the document almost done. So now I want to show you how this thing actually gets to be this different color instead of this orange, because this actually does look pretty hideous. I mean, it's got this orange and these greens. It's not really very pretty. So what it wants us to do is change our color theme from whatever it is now. We're going to change it to blue. So we're going to click on this. We're going to click the down arrow, and we're going to change our. And like again, watch how these things change as I let my mouse kind of just flow over it. So if you're creating something like this, you can just let your mouse flow over it until you find one you really like, and it will change a lot of stuff. Like it'll change, like see the border will change, the glow will change. A lot of stuff is going to change as you just let your mouse kind of creep over these things. But what it wants us to select is the blue. Select that. This gives me that blue background, blue letters. All of the stuff is now the green didn't change because the green is part of the blue theme. And if that green wasn't part of it, because you notice like when I do, like sometimes it will change like the border. See, like that border turned orange, gray, blah blah blah, blue. But see, blue, it kept it because that green is in that color. But I'm gonna change this to blue, and that gives us that. Change all the colors to the blue. Second cough. Okay, so that's Word Module 1. That's how we create our flyer. We'll get off here and gargle some salt water. Hope you all have a good day. I will talk to you later.